Hi everyone. On this channel, I create videos packed with lots of great information. This video is the first in an upcoming series about using Microsoft Excel. So if you'd like to learn more about Excel, be sure to subscribe to my channel. All right, let's start with some basics. My goal with this video is to provide you with a quick tutorial so that within a short period of time, you'll be able to use Excel spreadsheets competently. I have an Excel file opened. Excel files are also known as workbooks, and workbooks consist of worksheets. A worksheet is just a spreadsheet. This particular workbook has 5 different spreadsheets. It's easy to create a new spreadsheet. Just right-click on a sheet, click Insert, select Worksheet, and click OK. And then you've got another new worksheet. Moving from one worksheet to another is as easy as clicking on the worksheet name. When you save an Excel file, it'll save the entire workbook, including all the worksheets. The easiest way to save an Excel file is to click on the little disk save icon at the top. All right, let's talk about the basics of using a spreadsheet. You'll see that Excel spreadsheets have columns that are lettered and rows that are numbered. So every single cell has a cell reference, essentially a cell address. This is column B, row 3, so this cell's address is B3. Again, this is column B, and this is row 4, so this cell is located in B4. Column B, row 5, this would be B5. Right over here, it's column E, row 7. That cell reference would be E7. It's that easy. Within a spreadsheet, you can enter essentially any type of data. For example, you can enter in text, like first names, Frank, Jim, Steve. To edit information within a cell, like if I want to correct the spelling of the name Steve, one of the easiest ways to do it is to just double-click on the cell. Once I double-click on the cell, I'm in the edit mode, and I can just go ahead and backspace out those extra letters, and then hit Enter so that that takes effect. Another way to edit a cell is to click on that cell and then hit F2 on the keyboard. Once you hit F2, you're in edit mode again, and at that point, you can edit the cell. And then all you need to do is hit Enter for your changes to take effect. Another way to edit a cell is to click on the cell and then go up to the formula bar. Click on the formula bar, and then you can edit whatever information is in the cell. You can hit Enter so that your changes take effect, or you can hit the check mark. And of course, you can enter numbers, 2, 3, 7. Just go ahead and type in a number and hit Enter as you go. If you want to format the information that you've entered, like make it bold or make it red or change the font size, you have to highlight that cell. Just by clicking on a cell, you highlight the cell. If you click on a cell, I usually click toward the middle, hold down the mouse key, and then drag down. Then you can highlight multiple cells. With those cells highlighted, I could easily make them bold, I could easily change the color, I could easily change the font size. To turn off the highlighting, just click somewhere else on the spreadsheet. You might have noticed that when I made this bold, this word is now a little bit too big to fit comfortably within that cell. To adjust the column width, you can go between the two columns. You see how my cursor just changed its shape. Click, hold it, and drag it to make it a little bit wider. Another way to change that column to make it just wide enough to fit is to double click between the two columns, and it'll automatically resize it. Be sure to practice highlighting cells. When I highlight the cells, I like to click in the middle of them. I click to highlight the one, I click and hold to highlight several. Click away somewhere on your spreadsheet and you can turn off the highlighting. Again, I go toward the middle of it, click, hold, drag, and I can highlight that entire range. Click away somewhere and I can turn that off. The reason why it's important to get that down right is because you can easily move the contents of those cells without wanting to, and this is why. If you wanted to move the contents of a cell, you'd click on them, highlight the cell just like you did before, but if you move your cursor just a little bit, do you see how it changes shape? Now it's ready for me to click and move the contents of that cell. It says J7, and that means it's going to move the contents once I pick up my mouse key to cell J7. Again, I can move back to that cell, click, move my cursor just a little bit so that it changes shape, Click on that cell and move it back up to J3 where it began. Click somewhere else to turn off any highlighting. So there's a subtle difference between what you need to do to highlight a cell, click, drag, and what you need to do to move a cell. Click, move my cursor just a little bit, and now move that cell wherever I want it. There's even another very subtle distinction between highlighting, moving, and autofilling. Let me show you autofill. If I click on this cell right here to highlight it, I'm going to move my cursor to the lower right part of the cell. You'll see in the lower right part of the cell, there's the autofill handlebar. It's a little plus. My cursor will change to a little plus sign. So as long as that cell is highlighted, once I move my cursor to the lower right part of that cell, I'm on the autofill handlebar. If I click on that and drag down, Excel will autofill. And in this situation, it's smart enough to know that I might want to be cycling through the days of the week, Monday through Sunday. I click up and it'll automatically fill that in. Click away somewhere to turn off the highlighting. You can autofill numbers as well. If I wanted to click on this cell and move to the autofill handlebar, once I drag down and then lift up, it's going to copy the number 1 in all of those cells. Click away, turn off the highlighting. Well, maybe I want the numbers to continue to count up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I don't want to have to type that in by hand. In this situation, you sometimes just have to experiment. If I click on the 2 and I move to the autofill and I autofill down, I can see it's going to want to put a 2 in there all the way down. So this is the way to handle that. Highlight from 1 to 2, move to the autofill handlebar and highlight down, and now it will continue counting up. So sometimes it just takes a little bit of experimentation. Click away to turn off the highlighting. Highlighting, moving, and autofilling takes some practice, but they're incredibly useful and powerful techniques. Let me show you a quick example. Here I've got exam scores for 3 students, and I computed real quickly an average, and I used an Excel formula to do that, and I'm going to show you that very soon. But if I need to do the exact same thing for exam 2, exam 3, and exam 4, I can use autofill to get that done in a fraction of a second. So autofill, highlighting, and moving are all very powerful, very important techniques. Just practice. Most people begin using Excel just for some basic data entry to help organize their information. In this case, I have a list of things to do before listing a house for sale, and then I've given each one of these tasks a priority level, from critical to important to low importance. If I wanted to add another item to do, I can just click in that cell and start typing. In this case, survey the property line. I hit enter so that information takes effect, and I'm going to give this a priority level of 1. It's critically important. I'm going to type in 1, and you can see as I start typing in critical, Excel realizes that that's been typed in before above it, and it auto-fills the information. Just hit enter so that that information takes effect. So that it's easier to see my labels right here, I'm going to click to highlight them, drag over. I'm going to make them bold, and I'm going to underline them by picking a thick bottom border. If I click away, I can turn off the highlighting and see how it looks. And maybe I want to make it so that the critical items stand out more, so I want to make them red. I'm going to highlight this one cell, and then if I use the control key, I'm going to push down on the control key. I can highlight other cells that are not connected, and those can be highlighted as well. I now lift up on my control key, and now I can format those cells any way I want. I'm going to make those red. Now I'm going to click away somewhere on the spreadsheet to turn off the highlighting so I can see how the changes look. In the same way, I'm going to highlight the cells that have low priority. I'm going to push down on the control key, click the other cells. That allows me to select a range of cells that are not all attached to one another. I'm going to lift up now on the control key, so I'm not pushing down anything, and I'm going to change those to the color green. Click away so I can see how the changes look. Now I want to sort the table so that I can easily see the critical items, the important items, and the low-level important items. So I'm going to highlight the information in the entire table. I'm going to highlight A1 all the way to B1 and then all the way down. I'm just holding in my mouse button. Now I'm going to lift up on the mouse button. At this point, I'm going to move over to where it says sort and filter. You can see a little down arrow. If I click, I can see my options. And I want to pick custom sort. I click on that, and I'm going to tell it I want to sort by priority level. Click OK. Click somewhere to turn off the highlighting so I can see the results. And now my data is sorted by priority level. So by using some simple features within Excel, we can very easily organize our lives. All right, let's talk about some more powerful stuff. We're going to talk about formulas and functions. Let's talk about formulas first. Let's assume that we've sorted our information. We know what's critical and we know what's not so critical. And let's say that also I now have some estimated costs. Well, first of all, these estimated costs are dollar values. So let's change the formatting so that they're displayed that way. I'm going to click on this cell, hold down my mouse button, and highlight the entire range of values. I'm going to lift up my mouse button now. Now I'm going to come over here where it says number, and this is the number format. Click down on my options. I'm going to find currency. Click on that. I don't really need it out to 2 decimal places, so right over here, I can put it down to 1 or 0 decimal places. Click away somewhere on the spreadsheet so I can see how the changes actually look. All right, now let's use some simple Excel formulas to figure out how much is it going to cost to fix all of these critical issues. I'm going to put that total right over here. Anytime I want Excel to compute something, it's going to begin with an equal sign. Because that cell is already highlighted, all I need to do is start typing. I'm going to type in equals. Now I want to take the value in C2, add that to C3, C4, and C5. So I'm simply going to type in C2 plus C3 plus C4 plus C5. And you can see Excel is smart enough to highlight those cells along the way so you get visual feedback that you're doing what you want to do. At this point, to create that total, I'm just going to hit enter. Let's do the same thing. Let's use an Excel formula to create the total for how much it's going to cost to fix all these important items. So remember, everything needs to start with an equal sign if Excel is going to compute something. And what I want to do is take C6 plus C7 and so forth. So I'm going to type in C6 plus C7 plus, and here's another way I can do it. I can just click on the cell and it'll automatically put in C8, hit plus, click on C9 plus, click on C10 plus, C11 plus, C12 plus, C13 plus, C14 plus, C15. Now that took a while. I'm going to show you a much easier way to do that in just a few minutes. But all I need to do right now for that formula to be computed is hit enter. And finally, let's compute the total of how much it's going to cost to fix all the low important priority items. So here we're going to begin with C16 plus C17 plus C18 plus C19, and then hit enter. Let's go ahead and compute the total cost. So I'm going to label total cost, hit enter. I'm going to move over to this cell, and now what I want to do is add up the 3 cells that we just computed. So any formula needs to begin with an equal sign. I'm going to take this cell right here, D6, add D15, and then add D19. Hit enter. There's our overall total cost. Well, now we know the estimated value, but sometimes estimates are a little bit low. So let's put together a worst case scenario. Let's call this total cost plus 25%. So what I want to do here in this cell is use a formula that takes this value and then it adds 25% to it. Now think about it this way. If I took this value and I multiplied it by 1, I'd get the same value. So if I take this value and I multiply it by 1.25, I will get this value plus 25% added onto it. So let's do it that way. I'm going to click on that cell, and now I'm going to just start typing equals. That tells Excel to start computing something. I'm going to take the value from D22 just by typing in D22. And then I'm going to use the asterisk for multiplication. That's what Excel recognizes as the multiplication sign. I'm taking D22 and I want to multiply by 1.25. I hit enter and now I have a value that's 25% higher than $9,550. So using these basic Excel formulas, you can compute anything that you need to. If you like Excel formulas, you're going to really like Excel functions. Excel functions are essentially pre-packaged formulas within Excel for many of the common things we do on a daily basis, like add things up. So let's add up these values again. I'm going to label it total cost, hit enter so that information takes effect. I'm going to move over to this cell where I want the total cost to be calculated. And now I'm going to hit the enter key because that tells Excel that I want something computed. But now I'm going to type in the function name. And the function name in this case is sum. If I type in sum, S-U-M, I'm on the right track for summing up some information. Excel will automatically start to list the other function names that begin with S-U-M, but once I have the one that I want highlighted, I can hit the tab key and it'll take me to the next step. And the next step is telling Excel where is the range of values that we want to sum up. The range of values starts right here in C2 and it ends right here in C19. I could type in C2 and then put a colon and then type in C19 and you see it highlights that entire range. All I would need to do then is close the parenthesis and hit enter and it would automatically compute the sum for me. If I want to format it, I can move back to that cell and tell it to align it to the left. Another way to do this, I'm going to double click. Then I'm going to backspace out the part that we just did. Another way to put in that range, instead of typing in C2 to C19, is just use my mouse to click on C2 all the way to C19. Once that information is in there, I can close that parenthesis and then again hit the enter key so that the information takes effect. Let me show you yet one more way to do it. It's probably the easiest way. It's a way that many people use. I'm going to delete the information that's in there by hitting my delete key. If you look up here, there's a button for what we call auto sum. All I need to do is click that and Excel automatically realizes I want to sum up a list of data. And it's usually pretty good at finding where that data is above it. It put in the range C2 to C20. I'm going to change that just by highlighting on my own from C2 all the way down to C19, just so I'm not highlighting anything extra, and then hit enter. And again, it'll automatically compute the sum. Using these Excel functions, you can do almost anything, from very simple to very complex. Let me give you a couple other examples. I'm just going to scroll down a little bit, and I'm going to label this right here, average cost. Hit enter so it takes effect. And now I'm going to move over to the cell where I want the average cost computed. So at this point, I can use this auto sum area again. This area can do more than just sum things up. Do you see the little arrow? The little arrow shows you have other options. So now I can compute an auto average if that's what I want. So I'm going to click on that and see how it looks. Excel thought I wanted to compute an average of just what was immediately above it. And this is where Excel kind of missed the mark. But it's no problem. You can see we're going to use the average command, and that's already typed in. And now I simply need to put in the range of values. I could type in on my own C2 colon C19, but what I think is easier is to just highlight the cells in that range. Once I get them highlighted, I can just hit enter. I'm going to move down a little bit so we can see it, and there we go. There is the average cost. And we can do that with practically anything you can think of. Maybe I've got an enormous list and I want to figure out what's the project that's going to cost the least? What has the minimum value? So I'm going to label it minimum cost, hit enter so that information takes effect. So now I'm just going to move over to the cell where I want the minimum cost displayed. Now if I want, I can go over to the auto sum area again, use the little pull down menu. Again, it shows many of the common commands that are often used. Average, count the numbers, maximum value, minimum value. I'm going to click minimum value. It automatically puts in the command min for me. Excel did not select correctly the values where I want to search for a minimum value. So all I need to do now is highlight that range of values. Excel will automatically put in that range, C2 to C19. I hit enter, and now that minimum value is computed. If I want to align that to the left, I can just click on that key right there. So it's very easy to compute these things. Maybe I want to compute the maximum cost. I can label that max cost, hit enter, so that takes effect, move over to the cell where I want that computed. Now I'm going to just type this one in, equals max, because I know that's the command. I'm going to open up my parenthesis, and the way I do that is by hitting the tab key. That takes me to that next step. I now need to put in the range. I'm just going to type in the range. I just like to type, instead of using my mouse, C2 to C19. I find that I can do that more quickly. I'm going to close the parenthesis and hit enter, and now that maximum value is computed. If I move to that cell and highlight it, I can now align that to the left just like the other values are. So it's just easy to see. It looks nice. It's formatted well. You can use basic Excel functions to do some really cool and really powerful things. So spend some time playing with Excel. I think you're going to like it. And check back to this channel because I'll be posting more Excel tutorials. If you found this video helpful, like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. Thanks.